Washington mornings on the Mall.
105.9 FM.
And AM 630.
WMAL.
Pleased to be joined now by Adam Carolla, a comedian and host of the Adam Carolla Show. Adam, we have been so inundated with politics and people who approve that message that it seems like maybe it's time to think about other things. What are the things that we've been putting on hold while the whole world was focused on politics?
It's this funny thing where we're like, the one guy who's currently presiding over the country has been on the road for 7 months. So I don't know. Like I always say, how important is this job? And everyone's like, well, it's really important. And then I go, yeah, but the guy who's currently doing it hasn't been doing it for half a year. Things seem to be the same as they always were. And they're like, I mean, they're just waiting around for unemployment reports to come in and that kind of stuff, but economic news. But this guy's been doing everything except for back at his place of work, namely the White House, doing whatever you're supposed to do at the White House. Yeah. So I'm not even sure at this point we need a president. Like maybe we don't. Maybe the country just runs itself. Like maybe we should just take one season off. Just like, like that one year, what was it, 1980, when we didn't go to the Olympics? Life went on, right? Hey, we're fine.
But like Christina Aguilera on The Voice, just take a season off.
You know what? That's a much better example.
Yeah.
Let's just take a season off and see what happens. Adam, I don't know that anything would change.
Adam, you're an L.A. guy, and I know that you love to talk about your mayor there, Villaraigosa, on your podcast, especially with regard to how great he is with all the potholes and the traffic and everything that happens in L.A. But, actually, before we even get into the details of what a great mayor he is, what kind of man is he with his whole name change thing where he embraced his wife's name?
Well, he's a scholarly man. I mean, look, just because a guy can't pass the bar 4 times, and by the way, he didn't fail the bar 4 times and then pass it on the 5th time. He failed the bar 4 times in a row, and then just somebody grabbed his number 2 pencil and broke it and said, "You can never come back because you've now passed." You've now failed 4 times in a row. Why not let this guy run the 7th biggest economy in the world? Makes perfect sense, right? It does. This year, by the way, I'm hoping we can get someone who's failed the bar 6 or 7 times so we can really get this economy back up on its feet.
Yeah, an overachiever.
And, yes, his name is Tony Villar. Tony Villar. Like, look, I've had guys who I knew as Steve all through high school, and at some point I ran into them and they wanted to be called Steven, and I thought they were douchebags. This guy was named Tony Villar his entire life, but magically it got changed to Antonio Villaraigosa. See, I wonder what vote he was going after. The elusive Swedes. And then, but he didn't change his name for votes. He changed his name as a tip of the cap to his wife. And he took her name and his last name, and they created some sort of, I don't know where the Antonio came from, but he was always Tony. But either way, combined the two because of such a reverence for his wife, and then started banging around with this Telemundo reporter. So he's a horrible mayor, and this city is horrible. Los Angeles is an absolute mess. You don't realize just how depressing a city can be by what they ask you not to do.
I'll tell you, it sounds like what we need to do is get Adam to come here and focus on the district council and the district mayor for a while.
Well, he's going to be able to do that. Listen, he'll be at the Warner 8 p.m. Thursday the 8th tonight. But here's my big question for you. You've got this new product, Mangria, coming out, or Mangria. First of all, are you going to have Mangria there? And secondly, I happen to like sangria. So by having to force the name Mangria, are you suggesting and impugning my masculinity here, Carolla?
Yes, and yes. But I will say this. Let me say this. I am bringing, I think, 10 or 12 cases of Mangria with me to the Warner. And
Are you bringing any for the audience?
Yes.
Oh, all right.
Yes.
Check if that was your own.
I only drink 6 cases when I travel.
Well, hold it. What's the difference between sangria and mangria for those who don't know?
I'm at 21% alcohol. Right. Sangria is probably checking in about 8 or 9. So this punch has some punch to it, and it's great. I know I sound like a mad person, but I am telling you, I've sold 10,000 bottles of this stuff just online. Everybody loves it. I love it. I drink it every night. Now I got my wife on it. Everyone's going to be in rehab at the Carolla house any day now, and it's just great. I invented it. It's my recipe. I work with a bottler in Sonoma. We put the whole thing together. It's just great. I know Obama says I didn't start this business, but this time I actually did. I sat in my kitchen. I mixed and poured. I got this great recipe going, and then I worked with a guy who's a winemaker, and we made it, and everyone laughs, and then they have a glass. And then they're not laughing so hard.
Well, Adam Carolla, it's good to have you here on the program. You're appearing tonight at the Warner Theater, 13th and East Street Northwest, starting at 8 o'clock. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks. I'll see you there.
Thanks, Adam.
Bye. He's a funny guy.
He is very funny and very smart.
Yeah. Listen, I have a thing that I want to just say. I've been thinking about this. We had our election, and we heard the president say that, it's time to all come together. It's time for us to try to compromise. And
yes.
We heard Boehner making his little statement. We've heard what Harry Reid has to say. And
he's invited Mitt Romney to come talk.
That's right. And Mitt Romney's going to come to the White House, and they're going to have a cup of Sanka or a root beer or something.
Root beer summit.
A root beer summit. And they're going to sit down and talk about, healing the nation. And here's what I would like to add to that conversation. Mr. President, you've just been reelected, and you need to find a way to compromise and to have a conversation with those who opposed you during this past election. The other side. Yeah. You need the loyal opposition. You need to have a conversation with them. As it turns out, here in the nation's capital, on Capitol Hill and elsewhere, a lot of the key people that you need to talk to, they happen to listen to this station.
In fact, this show in particular.
That's right. So, Mr. President, I'm just saying, I used to have a White House pass. I know where the Northwest Gate is. Want to say to you, Mr. President, that we would like to sit down and have not a confrontation, but a conversation. The invitation will be coming officially through official channels. Mr. President, let's sit down and have a chat. You could make him some pumpkin spice latte.
Absolutely. President Obama, the number is 888-630-9625. Call me.
Or let's sit down and